Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Catherine. About 30 years ago, I began to make software for my own kindergartens, for my own preschools. And about 18 years ago, I began making something for parents, which is now a mobile app, and it's called sparkatHOME. And I want to share with you why. Why did I make it? Well, it was because I had parents coming into my nurseries who were really keen for their children to develop, because we all want the best for our children. I'm a mother, and but they didn't really understand what they should be doing with their children. Now, I want to ask you, you don't have to tell me, but just think in your minds if you've got a bad habit. We all have bad habits. And then think about how hard it is for us to give that habit up. All right, it's really, really hard. We have to have real willpower to give up a habit. But this is what these parents were doing, because they were asking their children to do things before they were ready. And the children really wanted to please their parents, and they really wanted to make their parents happy. So they would find some way to do whatever it was. And if we just take writing, for example, they would write their name because their parents felt that was really important for them to write their name, which of course it is. But if they're not ready to write their names, then what happens is the children write their names backwards, they form their letters incorrectly, and they form those bad habits, which they need to undo before they can write joined up. Okay, so that was reason number one that I made sparkatHOME, which is the parent software. The second reason was because I learned that it's actually not really very good for children to pigeonhole their lives, to have life at home and have life at preschool, and they don't really join up. And it's actually not very good for children's mental health in the long term to be doing that. So what the software does is it actually joins, it helps join up for the child what they're doing in preschool and what they're doing at home, because everybody's working together, properly together, as a team. Now, reason three, as a professional educator, I really needed parents, the parent educator, the child's first educator, to help me do a better job with their child. I needed to know what goes on at home, what the child's interested in, so I could use that information in the preschools and the nurseries to really help and support children's learning and development. So if the children had a special outing at the weekend, I knew about it. So when we were perhaps talking about what we did at the weekend and the child didn't tell me, it didn't matter because I knew. So I could bring up the subject that they went shopping or they went to the zoo and what animals did they see, etc., and encourage the child to talk about their home life, again bridging that gap between home and the nursery and extending the child's learning at the same time. And then many years later, I learned more about how the brain develops, young children's brains. And I learned that 90% of your children's brains are fully grown before they go to school. That's a huge responsibility for us as adults. But if we work together we can build those brains even bigger. And that's another reason why Spark at Home will be really, really good for your children. And the last reason, although I'm sure we can think of lots of others, but the last main reason is that the early years, what your children experience before they go to school, sets out a blueprint for the rest of their lives. So if they really do well, then it's likely that they're going to do really well later in life. They're going to pass their exams. It's been proven. They're going to make the right choices in life. You know, they won't have mental health issues. Their overall health will be a lot better. They'll be able to make good choices in careers. They'll be able to earn plenty of money. Okay, so their whole quality of life is reliant really on what happens in the early years. So how is Spark at Home going to help you? Well, it's going to signpost you so that you are helping your children be stage appropriate. So you won't be asking your children to do things before they are ready. Okay, and they need to be ready in a whole child way. All right. You know, to write, it's not just about putting the print on the paper. It's also about listening to instructions. It's about understanding that print means something. Okay. So it's about, you know, it's about the whole, we're looking at the whole child, not just one part of the child. And the software is also going to give you ideas in what you can do, all right, with the child to achieve the objective that you choose, because you'll have a list of objectives and you can choose the one that you feel is most comfortable, the one you feel your child's going to enjoy, and then the software is going to give you some ideas. Now, I want to talk to you about something a little bit different, but it all fits in. I make clay pots on a wheel. Not very good at it. But I go to a class to learn about it. I experiment. I practice. I have to follow procedures. And when it goes well and I actually get a pot, I'm really proud of it, even if it isn't the best pot in the world. It's fun. It helps me relax. It helps me be creative. It allows me to express myself in a different sort of way. Do you have a hobby? Have a think. I'm sure you do. We all do as adults. It might be something that takes over our lives, or it might be something we reach to. It's our play. It's good for us. Now, your hobby might involve teamwork. You may have to problem solve. You may have to show empathy when the ball doesn't go into the hole or into the net for a teammate. You may have to communicate with others really well. You may set yourself goals. You might have to follow rules. You may have to concentrate, be self-reliant. I wonder if you can identify with any of those. And when it becomes boring, you give up. You move on to another hobby. You find something else that's interesting, something else that stretches you, something else you can learn from and enjoy. What if I said, tomorrow you're not allowed to have any hobbies? No more hobbies for anybody. Okay. You just do the housework, go to work. Okay. No hobbies are allowed. How would that make you feel? It's our adult play. And I'm explaining this because your children need to play. It is how they are going to learn those skills that you learn and you use in your hobbies. So when you're using Spark at Home, although it's going to give you lots of ideas, we really need those to be playful. And research has shown that the brain gathers more information through play than in structural education in the early years. So what sparkatHOME is going to do is going to give you some ideas, and they're going to be fun things, or they're going to be things that you can do in the routines. Okay, so you'll be able to sing in the car, pair up the shoes by the door, line the bottles of shampoo on the bath in order of size or weight, practice jumping. Everything needs to be fun, but you must make sure that you don't put pressure on your children to conform. If they don't want to do it, then move on to something else. And if you can, as I need as an educator to know from the parents of the children that I looked after in my nurseries, do things around what they're interested in. Okay, so if they're interested in making pots right now, you know, that's maths, tall pots, short pots, thick pots, thin pots, if you can get that far. You can talk about languages and vocabulary into what the children are doing. And as you're doing these wonderful things with your children, you'll be able to communicate them. And you'll be able to put on photographs and make the observations and add comments and build for yourselves a record of achievement for your child. And as the priests are making their observations and uploading their photographs and making their comments, they will come across to your sparkatHOME. So you will be able to see every day what your child has been doing and what they've been learning about. And then you can bridge that gap between home and preschool, and you can talk and show your child the picture that was taken at preschool, and that's bridging that gap between both establishments. All right, I hope you found that useful. Does anybody have any questions? Please pop them in the comments.